next question. In this sport, we hear a lot of people talking about tendon strength versus muscle belly strength. And personally, I've kind of bought into the old school mentality of tendon thickening, tendon density, and really what people I think are trying to say is ability to sustain a load statically or in the eccentric. So now I've also heard people talk about like, all right, I had a bicep tear and I went to an orthopedic surgeon and they said, oh my gosh, we've never seen a tendon as weird and thick as this after 20 years of training. Sure. So what is there in fact a value or differentiation between muscle belly strength and tendon density? And is there a way to actively train tendons versus muscle bellies?
Okay. The first part of the question, I'm going to have to take a pass. That's just, I'm not going to sit here and start making stuff up.
Okay, cool.
That's going to be outside my comfort zone. Now, as far as the second part, I don't know. I mean, I don't know of a way to specifically train connective tissue.
Okay.
I just don't. I mean, because the connective tissue, it adapts as we build muscle.
Right.
And now, is there some validity, at least I think, to the whole tendon density, argument? Yeah, but I mean, as far as being a benefit, as far as it being a benefit to competition, I don't know. What's your view on that?
So let me just dig into it a little bit more. So with this sport, we're gonna like the chain starts at the fingers. So like we're gonna have a lot of wrist flexion,
sure,
and finger containment, which is obviously gonna meet through all of your tendons in the medial epicondyle.
Sure.
So the one of the biggest pain points and injury points in this sport is going to be the medial epicondyle through the pronator teres and all of your flexors, your common flexor bundle. So that area is going to take largely the most stress when arm wrestling, from the wrist flexion to the side pressure when you're going to the side.
Sure. Yeah, I'm doing this with my arm. I'm trying to visualize.
Yeah, and you're also going to see obviously bicep, like your bicep tendon ruptures in all sorts of forms. Sure. And then you'll see shoulder injuries, subscaps. You're going to see labrums, things of that nature. But primarily it's in this elbow.
Right.
So people are going to have tears in there. There's all kinds of treatments for it. And then the bicep. So I guess what I'm saying is we've had so many people get surgeries and say that they're based on arm wrestling, not necessarily arm wrestling training, but the actual activity of arm wrestling on a weekly basis has created an anomaly in those tendons. And
yeah, go ahead.
No. I mean, I guess I'm just wondering, like, is the tendon anomaly something that can be replicated through training or just arm wrestling?
That's going to be something. That's a little outside my comfort zone, but I would say, to my knowledge, in my 20 years, I don't know a way to target connective tissue. I mean, think about it this way. Now, granted, the ACL is different than the medial epicondyle, but if we could target connective tissue, we'd have a lot fewer ACL injuries, right? And we'd have a lot fewer rotator cuff tears. Holy cow. I don't know a way, because I just don't, but I'm thinking, though, I'm again kind of sitting here replicating what you guys do. And I mean, I can even make myself feel the stress in the medial side of the elbow. It's like the opposite of tennis elbow, right?
Absolutely. Because, and you're gonna get both. You're gonna get medial and lateral epicondylitis because of overtraining flexion.
Right. I get it. Yeah, I get it. And
I've had to have PRP injections in both my lateral and medial to heal it because blood flow is so thin. And everybody says, oh, and here's another thing I'd like to ask. Everybody says, okay, we're going to do rehab training. So we're going to go, since we do this all day, we're going to go in the gym, use our tool, and we're going to do this for like 1,000,000 reps. How valid is that for forcing blood into that connective tissue? Is there any value?
Well, the blood, I mean, no matter what you do, as far as a contraction that stimulates that connective tissue, you're going to get blood flow. I don't know if doing, and I know you're exaggerating, but 1,000,000 of these.
Let's say legit, like we're going to do 500 of those reps.
Right.
Basically, no way.
I mean, I don't. I just.
Let's say you've already created a tendinopathy. You've created an overinflammation, whatever you want to call it, and a tendon irregularity.
Sure.
And now you want to heal it. And your only options are to take 6 months off or blood flow.
Sure. I don't know if there's any validity to that, Paul.
Okay.
I mean, again, it's not really my area, but I can't with a good conscience sit here and say, yeah, I think just trying to increase the velocity of blood, because it already's got blood flow. Yeah. I mean, the tissue's not dying, it's just injured. Right? It's already got blood flow.
Well, so the school of thought there is, muscle bellies have tons of, capillaries, veins. Sure. It's getting blood all the time. Those white, like stringy tendons, all fibrous and everything, they're not getting that level of blood flow. Thus, the healing is going to take longer.
But all you're doing with that is you are moving more blood through there.
Yeah.
But are you unloading any more oxygen? I don't think so. Yeah. You're just moving more flow through there. Because it's not an active muscle, it's just a connective tissue. Yeah. And so I don't think you're unloading anything else there, which really invalidates this whole theory.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, Ryan, we're not sharing this with anybody. No. Hey, so also next question. So we're talking about connective tissue injuries, low blood flow areas. So when you create the tendinopathy, obviously you get the pain, you get all the good stuff, you get swelling, whatever, you got fluid in there. If you're training, a lot of times we're going to see guys take all kind of over-the-counter and prescribed anti-inflammatories.
Yeah.
Is it good or bad to get the inflammation out?
This is a trick question, isn't it?
I don't know. I have my thoughts, but I don't have any validation of them.
Well, here's the thing. Inflammation plays a role. It's an immune response, right? If you have a trauma, an injury, inflammation plays a role in the healing process. And so I'm going to answer this two ways. It's going to sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but applying cold therapy like ice or whatever to reduce swelling, that's good to alleviate pain and good to help you do some range of motion stuff to get the swelling out, but it's probably going to come back, right, until it heals. And because that inflammation has a role, it has a role in healing the injury. And so, see, I'm not a big fan. And I just told my brother on the phone 2 hours ago to go to an orthopedist to get the fluid drawn off his knee. But I'm going to go. I mean, I'm talking out both sides of my mouth.
Knee's different though. It's back to what we started talking about. It's load bearing.
That's right. It is different. Exactly. And so again, I'm going to say doing some cold therapy to help you to do some range of motion work to help get the range of motion back in and probably to accelerate the healing as long as you don't overdo it. I think that's good, but as far as going in and drawing fluid off and getting rid of all of it kind of manually, I think you're probably slowing down the healing process.
Right, which is kind of what I'm getting at, like with like the over-the-counter NSAIDs and different things that are going to draw that inflammation out. I made the mistake, and I learned from trial and error that I believe, and I don't know, I've never had it validated, that if I'm constantly taking anti-inflammatories for my elbow or my bicep so that I can continue arm wrestling, I'm continuing to take the healing process away and continuing to damage the injured area. And that's what created those tendinopathies. Being immediate, never slowing down, doing too much, and then taking whatever prescription or over the counter I can get so I can continue.
Sure.
And that's what created those tendinopathies, created those tears, and then I had to be treated with PRP. So that you talked about hot, like cold therapy. So obviously we have tons of arm wrestling. You use free sleeves. They all these different things. Like if I'm tracking what you're saying, it's good for recovery and rehab if it's done in moderation.
Yes.
Most likely right after the trauma.
Yes.
Or the training.
Yes.
But not continually all the time.
Agreed.
So yes. You want the inflammation. The inflammation is going to heal. So my next question is in relation to cold therapy. Is there value or more value in heat therapy if we want the inflammation and the healing?
Okay. Now heat therapy is you're not going to reduce any sweat. You're definitely not going to reduce inflammation with heat therapy. Okay. But now heat therapy can be good for range of motion. And see, and let me tell you, like when you have a knee problem,
right?
Okay, when you go into the therapist, what do? They do cold for a few minutes, right? And then they put your knee in the hot tub, and then you come out of the hot tub and you do cold for a few minutes, and then you put your knee back in the hot tub. Cold, hot. You always start and end cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. I think that's right. But there's a role for both of them. I mean, there's a role for both of them. They're both valuable. The cold will allow you to temporarily reduce the inflammation so you can work on range of motion, and then that heat's going to loosen you up so you can actually work on the range of motion that you need to work on.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I think there's a role for both of them. And now,
so is heat therapy going to fix that range of motion?
That's it. You got that looks a little rough.
There's worse than mine. I just throw that out there.
Yeah, you've probably got some scar tissue in there.
I know
doing you some damage.
So basically, to look at it from like the arm wrestling perspective, there is 100% value to hot cold therapy.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it because thank goodness I'm just validating that I'm on the right track.
No, I think there's tremendous validity to it. Absolutely.